Have you ever seen this flag? Have you seen it anywhere recently? No? Well, maybe because after World War II, the possession, importation, or display of these flags has been forbidden in several countries, particularly in Germany. Now, what about this? The rising sun flag. You might see it here and there, especially if you like Japanese media or culture. It's still very much discoverable, even though in some countries, including where I was born and raised in, this flag is probably the equivalent of that flag. Hello everyone, I'm back again with a new video where I will talk about the legendary, one of the most famous Vocaloid Hall of Fame level song, Senbon Zakura by Kurosapi or White Flame. Senbon Zakura itself means 1,000 cherry blossom. According to an analysis I found, this is actually an expression meaning flowers in full bloom, which can be used to describe something at its peak. And in this case, I think they are referring to Japan at its most prosperous, glorious days. Kurosapi himself have talked about how this song refers to Taisho romantic things. And when you listen to it, it does feel very Japan with a nostalgic element, yet it leaves you with a fighting spirit. Like you're ready to fight for your beloved country and salute to the... Is that a rising sun flag? The rising sun flag, or Kyokujitsuki, was the flag of the Imperial Japanese Army, and while it depicts 16 red rays emanating from the sun, from the country of the rising sun, for countries previously occupied by Japan, this flag is associated with Imperial Japan's wartime atrocities. If you're into K-pop, you would know how many idols or celebrities got cancelled and harshly criticized for even accidentally showing this flag in their content or even clothing. It's serious out there. Now, the reason why I talk about flags since the beginning is because in the music video of Senbon Zakura, there's a rather similar depiction of this flag, even though in this one, the circle is changed to a love shape. Well, we all know what they're referring to, which leads to, of course, controversies. This song is literally excluded from the Korean version of Project Mirai due to this very issue. So, Udin, does that mean this song is a chant glorifying Japan's imperialism? Is this a nationalistic anti-Western song? Or is this actually an anti-war song? Well, before I give you my opinions about that, we will need to learn a little bit about Japanese history, especially the era being referenced here both in the song and in the music video, the Taisho era. The Taisho era is an era in between the Meiji era and the Showa era, which we will talk about later, but Japan's Taisho era was like a roller coaster. It was a time of change where Japan is transitioning from the feudal ways to a modern society. Western influences become popular in fashion, architecture, music, literature, and politics. You can also see in the lyrics or in the music video where they mentioned and depicted a veteran wearing a westernized military uniform, and then they also mentioned oiran, which represents the Japanese side of the culture, and then there's also a line from the lyrics that says 1, 2, 3, 4, counting in English and then Japanese, and there's just a lot of elements that I think depicts the era where there's just a mash of Japanese and Western culture. This era is an era where you can see a traditional wood Japanese houses with women wearing kimonos next to a modern building with cafes and jazz music. This is an era where democracy is growing rapidly. The first ever commoner prime minister was elected and train tracks are built here and there. And although it sounds like an amazing development, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. In this era, Japan joined the World War and their economy grew rapidly. Factories are increasing in numbers, it created jobs, people from rural areas moved to the cities for bigger opportunities. But after the war ended, demands for exports plunged. Factories are slowing down, rice prices skyrocketed, there's riots everywhere, people are desperate, and to top it off, the Great Kanto earthquake happened. On September 1st, 1923, an 8.0 magnitude earthquake struck the Kanto region, with most of the destruction happened because they're swept under fire. Remember this because this is important. And in the end, 120,000 people died in total. Senbon Zakura was first posted on September 17, 2011, a few months after another massive natural disaster, triggered by a magnitude of 9.0 undersea earthquake, causing thousands of casualties and widespread destruction. As it was released during the recovery after a huge disaster, this song, with its traditional Japanese elements, lifted up the spirit of the Japanese people, reminding them of their glory days. And just like back in the Taisho era that is referenced, this reminded them of how they have faced many ups and downs. They have faced a huge disaster before and managed to get it all together. How they are like 1,000 sakura blossom, strong and beautiful in unity. Even though now the 1,000 cherry blossom is disappearing into the night and the sun from the land of rising sun is setting with an indigo sky, we can reach our peak again and end it in full bloom. What a beautiful meaning, right? But a song is a form of art and it is free for interpretation, especially when it is written in another language with very hard words and multifaceted meanings from a country with a long list of war crime history. It was bound to have mixed reactions. So now down to the important question. Let's just address the main controversy everyone talks about. Does this song promote war and Japanese imperialism? So the thing is, even after seeking multiple translations and interpretations, and even if we break down the lyrics one by one, which will make this a very long video, the result itself is just very different depending on the person seeing it. I'm just gonna give you some context from two sides and let you decide on your own. So far, there are two big categories of people's interpretation. First one, the Senbon Zakura is a right-wing nationalist propaganda. And the second one, Senbon Zakura is a Japanese anti-war cultural reset uplifting song. So, to start it off, one of the main arguments for these controversies is the lyrics where they say, meaning Begone Evil Spirits, ICBM, which is Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. For one side, I see a lot of people interpret it as the Japanese wanting to eradicate evil spirits, as in foreigners, with ICBM. On the other hand, some people interpret it as calling the ICBM itself the evil spirit that needs to be gone, meaning they're anti-war. And to add to that, the lyrics does also mention Japan as the Hansen Hokka, meaning that they are a happy-go-lucky, pacifist, anti-war nation. And in the Project Diva version of the song, in the music video, they do give a huge red X when mentioning this ICBM, which supports this claim. Now for me, I think it's neither of these because Japan themselves does not have ICBM, so technically they cannot eradicate foreigners with something they don't have, which is why this convinced me that they're probably talking about eradicating ICBMs of other countries, deleting the threats of other countries' military powers. And for the Hansen Hokka, it can also mean happy-go-lucky, right? So I do think it refers to how this nation's youth is so comfortable with the way they are living that they're clueless about the threats of outside military powers. This interpretation makes more sense to me because there are also lines where they say, these lyrics seems to criticize the young generations of Japan for being so casual and unaware of the future of their nation because they are born and raised in a peaceful country, when the fact is they are getting more and more dependent to outside powers for their country's security. Not to mention the list of weapons in the lyrics like ray guns and flash grenades, which some people do associate this as like aggressive and encourages war, since the lyrics are kind of saying like go shoot and uchimakure. But we need to note that ray guns are not actual guns. It only exists in science fiction, and a flash grenade too isn't a lethal weapon. It basically produces bright, dazzling light to temporarily disorient and confuse people. And if we don't see it as a literal translation, I think it could be interpreted as some kind of a wake-up call to take everyone's attention, to call out their youths. In a way, I think instead of encouraging war or anti-war, I believe it is more of a call out to the Japanese people, not to Westerners or foreigners. So yeah, I do believe that this song isn't necessarily about promoting war war or imperialism, but more of a political, nationalist-leaning song. Now let me explain why I think that way. If you see the lyrics alone, you might think this is a reach or like schizophrenic or just a paranoid way of thinking. But if you look at Japan's history, this way of thinking might not seem that far-fetched. I'm oversimplifying this, but in short, back in the 1639, Japan is a very isolated country. Under the Tokugawa shogunate, they issued the Sakoku policy, which basically prohibits foreigners entering Japan and prohibits Japanese citizens leaving Japan, with a death penalty waiting if they decided against it. And it went like that for 2 centuries, till Westerners, Americans, forced them to open up the country for trade. The reason why I felt like I need to explain this is because in the Tokugawa shogunate, there's a lot of people and higher-ups who hate foreigners. They hate Westerners, not just the people. They condemn Western religions, Christianity, Western knowledge, chemistry, medicine, astronomy, and label them as barbarian studies. Not everyone hates it though. Intellectuals are actually very fascinated by it. So it's more like the higher-ups who felt that way. Their despise of even Western technology is also what led them to a weaker military. I mean, samurais definitely have top-tier aura, but guns are unfortunately guns, which leads them to open up the country whether they like it or not. And while at the time the shogun felt like there's no other choice, the emperor is highly against this. They think signing those treaties are seen as humiliation and surrendering the sacred Japan to Western powers, which I agree because it is a very unfair trade, but in the end, this angers a lot of Japanese citizens, which eventually leads to Meiji Restoration and the modernization of Japan. Although this was all a sentiment of the past, history does prove this happened. Even in the Taisho era, after the Kanto earthquake happened, the Ministry of Home Affairs falsely claimed that socialists and Koreans were the ones setting the fires and not the earthquake. Remember how I mentioned previously that most of the destruction that happened was because of fire? Of course, this statement angers people, which then leads to the Kanto massacre, which was a mass murder event perpetrated against Korean residents and Japanese socialists, resulting in over 6,000 deaths over a false accusation. So what I wanted to say was, this type of sentiment exists in Japan since a long time ago. One search on Google will let you know that even until now, just like any other country, these nationalist groups exist. To add to that, there's also a mention and a display of what seems to be a torigate. If you didn't know, torigate is this gate usually placed in front of shrines. Since Shinto shrines are sacred spaces, it is customary to clean yourself with water or bowing before entering. The gate itself is usually colored in white, which represents purity, or red, which are believed to be the color to ward off evil spirits. In the music video, you can also see Miku holding a wooden wand with paper streamers, which is commonly used in traditional ritual, again, to ward off evil spirits. This fits the lyrics where it says, now again, the controversy here is the driving of evil spirits. Who are the evil spirits? Just like the previous ones, there are contradicting interpretations regarding this line. Some people interpret this as Japanese people thinking their land is sacred, not wanting foreigners to come, refusing outside influence, and wanting to purify Japan, the authentic Japan, which according to nationalist groups are the peak and glorious Japan. And although this sounds very extreme, considering the history, I don't think you can say it's misinterpreted or it's false. On the other side, there are also people who interpret it as Japan cleansing themselves from their own sins, from their own war crimes. Zenjo itself is a Buddhist term, commonly translated to meditation. So entering the gates could be interpreted as entering a state of composure and awareness, which leads to perfected mindfulness and detachment. So instead of cleansing Japan from foreigners, to some people, entering the gate here means these officers cleanse themselves from the blood in their hands, so no more wars, detach themselves from worldly ambition, purify their soul, and that's how they reach a happy ending where everybody is happy. But then again, personally, I think this one is far-fetched, considering Japan is notoriously famous for omitting their war crimes in their education. So, kinda unlikely, but not impossible. Now, personally, I think this isn't about cleansing Japan from foreigners, as in they hate the people, but more about foreign influences. This lines perfectly with the interpretation about ICBM previously, and also aligns with the title about wanting to go back to the glorious Japan, whether it's about their economy, military, or even culture. So, which interpretation do you believe more? I can see how both sides say that one side of interpretation are just Japanese apologists, and the other side saying it's reaching or mistranslated. In the end of the day, a song is a form of art free of interpretation, which is why they're so beautiful. My own take though, I do think this song left a taste of nationalist values, but not in a way a lot of people interpret it as hating the foreigners, or even as far as pro-war or imperialist country, but more like a critique to their own youth to bring back the glory days. Regardless of which one you believe, what I want to remind you is you don't need to label a song as problematic just because it's political. And you don't have to dismiss a political value from a song just because it's unserious because it's Vocaloid. You also don't have to be a Japanese apologist to enjoy Japanese culture. Instead, this kind of media is actually important to train our critical thinking, to get informed with context, with history, and form our own opinion. It's also a really fun way to learn about history, about Japanese war crimes, and maybe it can lead you to learn about other countries' war crimes. You know, learning history is good, so we don't repeat the same mistakes. Whichever interpretation you end up with, it should be determined by you, especially when we don't know what Kurosaki's actual intentions are. He could be chilling in a park on a spring day full of sakura blossoms and came up with this song without thinking much of it. He could also be very intentional with every word and elements he uses in this song. We will never know. There's literally no need to argue on who's right or wrong. People are entitled to what they feel about the song, especially the people who are affected by it. It is a sensitive issue to some countries for a reason. If you're against this song because of the implications and the values, or even if you agree with it, that's valid. If you enjoy the song and don't care about it because it's just a banger, that's valid too. Anyways, moral of the story, art is a beautiful thing and is free for interpretation. One song could lift up a nation's spirit after a huge disaster, but at the same time could also be a reminder of a painful past for a whole other country. That's all for me. This is a very long video, so if you watched till the end, thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next one. Bye!